Hey there YouTube, it's Aaron. Today I'm doing a review on the Polygon Siskiu D7SE. In some markets it's called the Polygon Siskiu DSE. However, in Australia here and in the States it's called the D7SE, which in my opinion makes a lot more sense with the lineup. I'm making a review of this bike because there really isn't much independent review information about this bike. I'll try to put a transcript on the review on my comment section as well. My aim here is to make it simple for a buyer who's considering this bike. I understand that not everyone who is watching this is knowledgeable on bikes. If there is technical information that I mentioned that you don't understand or any questions, then please leave a comment and I may answer or make a video addressing it. Otherwise, there is a wealth of information from Park Tool, GMBN and Pink Bike about mountain biking specs and tech. Most of my bike knowledge comes from them or from riding and working on my bikes. I'm a mountain bike enthusiast who has been mountain biking for about 4 years now. Before I begin, I would like to say I bought this bike with my own money and there is no incentive from Polygon or Bikes Online to do a review of the bike. The bike sells at Bikes Online at 2,300 AUD, but I've seen it sell for as low as 1,750 AUD. The D in the Siskiu D series stands for Downcountry. Mine is a size medium. I've owned it for just over 1 year and ride at least 3 times a week, mostly around the ACT region. I have some other videos on my channel with POV rides I've done around the area. The frame has a 67-degree head tube angle. I won't go into the other numbers. Geometry specs can be found at the Polygon website or the Bikes Online website that I will link below. There is a front triangle internal routing that is nice for neatness and appearance, not so nice for DIY. There is a proprietary derailleur hanger that can be purchased from Bikes Online, no UDH. The chainstay protector is included. The rear travel is a linkage-driven single pivot with 120mm of travel. There seems to be a perception that the more complicated suspensions are better. My opinion is that the performance benefit is minimal for more complicated suspensions at best, and just marketing and placebo at worst for the average hobbyist rider. More complicated also means more things to go wrong and more frame weight. The linkage-driven single pivot works fine with no issues. More on that when you get to the ride part. The pivots also have a torque rating, which are nice for DIY maintenance. The fork that comes on the bike is an SR Suntour Ride-On 32 Boost with 120mm of travel. It is not considered high-end, but overall, no complaints from me. It tracks the ground well and provides ample grip on the roughest of terrain, and provides good small bump sensitivity. What more do you need? Technically, it is a bit heavy for an XC fork, quoted at about 2 kilograms on the SR Suntour website. However, it is rated for all mountain as well, meaning there shouldn't be any concerns about toughness at least. It is an air shock, so the spring rate can be adjusted freely. Not too much compression and rebound adjustment, but they are present. I have set mine to about 17% sag. The rear shock is a RockShox Select. Again, it is not considered high-end, but it is air, so there is good spring rate adjustment, and there is a little bit of rebound and compression adjustment as well. It provides more than ample traction, comfort, and small bump sensitivity when coupled with a linkage-driven single pivot. I run mine at about 25% sag with open compression. The drivetrain is a Shimano MT201. The cassette is an 11-51 cassette. The chainring is a 32 tooth. I used to have an XT drivetrain on my previous bike. I hardly noticed a difference in shifting performance. Technically it's a bit heavier, but oh well. 11-51 is about the best range of gear ratios you can get, and about the same as most 1x12 systems you will see on higher end bikes. I've had no trouble with the ratio spacing or feel like I need more gears. The seat is an Entity Void seat. It is a little wide for me, but otherwise no complaints with it. The grips, handlebars and stem are also from Entity, and I have no complaints about them either. The dropper is a Trans-X dropper. It comes with 150mm on the small and medium sizes, and 170mm on large and extra large. I had mine warranted about 9 months into owning the bike. Funnily enough, they sent me a 170mm dropper as the replacement, which I'm not complaining about. I've had no trouble with the dropper since. It goes up and down smoothly when I want it to. The The brakes are Shimano MT201s, the pads are resin and the rotors are resin only, 180 front and 160 rear. They perform well enough for my purpose, more on that in the ride part of the review. The stock wheels that came in the bike were basic. Mine were 29ers, they were alloy and 29mm internal width. They weighed around 2.2 kilograms. I haven't looked closely, but there would be no more than 30 points of engagement on the hubs. The disc brake rotors were held with interlocks. I have since replaced the wheels with the Hunt XC wide V3 wheels that you can see here. These new wheels are much lighter with much higher engagement. There's clear improvement to handling and agility on the downhills. Acceleration and zippiness, especially on the climbs, is also noticeable and much appreciated. I can do a review on these wheels as well if you would like. Please comment if so. I would highly recommend a wheel upgrade as one of the first upgrades for this bike. The stock tyres were Maxxis Recons, front and rear, both 2.25 inches. I found the front didn't quite have enough grip for the terrain and trails I was riding, and found the rear could have been faster rolling. I actually really liked the Recon when it was a bit worn. They both came with tubes. I have since replaced them with a DHR 2.3 tubeless front and Recon Race with tube tennis armor in the rear. My size medium was about 14.7 kilograms stock and about 13.9 kilograms with these upgrades. After taking a solid 2 weeks to dial it in, the suspension performs well enough that I can enjoy my rides without worry. It soaks up repeated bumps, both big and small, with no issues. While the geometry is not as aggressive as many bikes nowadays, I found it to be quite confidence inspiring on the downhills. I'm able to go down black downhills without ever having concerns about the bike's capability. The only limiting capability was my own. Technical and flowy blue and green descents are very comfortable on the bike and probably the target type of trail for the bike, at least according to the marketing material. The bike feels agile and playful downhill, especially with my current setup. The longest descent that I regularly do is about 10 minutes and the brakes handle it fine with no fade. I'm not the most confident jumper. I probably jump at most 1 meter high and 3 meters long. That's about the recommendation on the Polygon website, and the bike handles that with no issue. The climbs are good. It probably climbs more efficiently than my hardtail after the tyre and wheel upgrades. Suspension doesn't feel like it gets in the way of power transfer while still helping with grip on the climbs. Overall, I think it climbs about as well as it descends. The term downcountry is thrown a lot these days. Some people use it for a more burly XC bike, and others use it to describe a light trail bike. I think the D7SE is more in the latter category. If I have to summarize the Siskiu D7SE, I would say that the bike can do everything well without breaking the bank. There's really nothing to complain about, and I think that is the biggest compliment for any bike or bike part. I think a good product is one where you don't notice problems when you're riding, or one where you can just enjoy the ride without troubles. So who's the bike for? Anyone who has a good amount of both up and downhills, and I think this bike is ideal for intermediate and advanced XC and trail riders. Sure, there are other bikes with much higher end components and or those with more aggressive geometry, but how much difference in enjoyment and performance between higher and lower end parts? I'd say not very much, at least for the average hobbyist with similar terrain to me. Do we really even need a hardcore enduro bike ridden by the pros? For most average hobbyists, again, I'd say probably not. I used to ride an enduro bike that cost more than twice this one, and after that one died in a car accident and I replaced it with this one, I rarely ever found myself wishing I had a better damper or more aggressive geometry. The last thing I want to talk about is alternatives to this bike. The Polygon Siskiu D6 is about 3 to 4 AUD cheaper. For that bike, the drivetrain and suspension isn't quite as good. I think the thing that's the biggest turner for me for that one is the cassette range, which is less than the D7's and would make climbing just that bit more of a chore. The normal D7 costs about the same and is pretty much the same specs, except it has a RockShox Recon fork. The damper on the RockShox Recon is generally considered slightly better than the ride-on, but it is a non-boost fork, which does limit wheel upgrade options. I've seen the Merida 120 selling at a similar price to this bike, and that's not a bad one to check out. I think it was at 99 Bikes where I saw it. The dropper doesn't quite have as much drop there, but otherwise it seems not too bad of an option. The Siskiu T7 costs about 300 AUD more. It's a bit of a burlier bike. The 29-inch version of the T7 is 140 millimeters of travel up front and 130 rear. Its cassette is 12 speed, but the range is about the same as the D7SE. The wheels have a Hyperglide hub, so the official Shimano 12-speed cassettes cannot be used on those wheels. The thing that turned me off really the most from this one is the huge wheels and tyres. It's got a 35-inch internal width for the wheels and 2.6-inch tyres. I feel exhausted even thinking about climbing with those. To wrap up this review, I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about this bike, and I hope that it helped with your purchasing decision with a new mountain bike. If you have any questions about the bike or any bike tech that I mentioned in this review, please comment and I may reply or make a video addressing it. If you want me to make a video about advice on purchasing a new mountain bike, please comment below. If you want to follow me on my mountain biking adventures, please subscribe or watch my other videos. Thanks for watching. See you, YouTube.